Welcome to CompSci360, the ultimate virtual summit for MS and computer science in the UK. This two-day summit will give you a 360-degree view around everything related to MS and computer science in the UK, with subject knowledge experts and student mentors from top universities. Before we hear from the expert, we want to walk you through the CompSci community on the Nebula platform, a dedicated space for you to connect with other attendees and build lasting relationships with fellow computer science enthusiasts. Throughout this summit, you will interact with a number of subject knowledge experts, and if you wish to get a personalized one-on-one mentorship session or get your queries addressed, you can book a slot with them by visiting their Nebula profile. We believe that this session will enhance your learning experience and help you achieve your study abroad goals. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you enjoy the summit.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this panel discussion where we will be discussing how to create winning SOPs for top MSc in computer science programs in the UK. My name is Namita Murali Narayanan, a community content creator here at Nebula, and I will be your host for this talk. Before we get into the session, though, I would like to give a brief introduction to Nebula, CompSci360, and how this panel discussion is going to work. Nebula is a community that helps aspirants eliminate their fears of staying in an unknown land while studying or working. To help them tangibly shape their future without any difficulties, we have created a platform that could help people wandering about. Many highly accomplished immigrant expats pushed their boundaries, and we have built this very powerful community driven ecosystem that brings people and technology together. Now, CompSci360 is a summit organized by Nebula to help students aspiring to study MS in computer science programs in the UK, and we aim to provide all of you here today the knowledge, resources, and insights to make informed decision about your education and career in the UK. For this session, please ensure that you are sitting in a quiet area with an undisturbed internet connection. In order for the session to be an interactive one, I would request you all to drop your questions, comments, and doubts in the chat section. These will be addressed by the panelists during the Q&A session at the end of the talk. All right then. Without further ado, let me introduce our panelists for today. Coena Das, an MSc in Robotics student from the University of Bristol, and Akshata Bhatt, MSc in Data Science alumnus from the University of Glasgow. Today, they will be taking us through and sharing their valuable insights on the best strategies for crafting winning SOPs for top MSc programs in the UK. I welcome both of you, Coena and Akshata Bhatt.
Hello, thank you.
Hi, Namita. Thank you so much.
Hi. So, to get started, what I want to ask is can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to pursue the course that you took up in the UK? Let's start with you, Akshata.
Hello, everyone. I am Akshata here. So let me get started with the background, the experience that I had in terms of the technical skills. So I have been working with Accenture for the past 5 years, and I have been working for the financial sector for almost throughout my career, and I have been into application development and things like that. So after a point, I found the necessity to upgrade my skills, and I saw that a lot of people were pursuing things like data science, machine learning, and it started becoming very relevant for the things that I was doing at work. So that was the reason that I actually took up my masters in data science, and I did that from University of Glasgow in the year 2018. And currently, I am actually using all the skills that I have acquired. So I think I've made the right decision so far.
What about you, Coena?
So I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering from India. And that's when I realized that I'm really interested in robotics, and I pursued projects and my major project both in robotics. And then, like, once I graduated, I really liked this program in MSc in robotics at the University of Bristol, mostly because it had the culmination of both the mechanical engineering aspect of it and the software aspect of it, such as computer vision and artificial intelligence and machine learning and other robotics software knowledge that is required. which is what I wanted to do, like focus more on the software side of robotics. Um, and that's why it just led me to pursue this course here at the University of Bristol.
Awesome. All right. So, Koina, you being someone who has already written your SOP and you've gotten your admission and you're doing your course, what would you say to an applicant, how to go about researching and selecting the most relevant information that they should include in an SOP?
What I would suggest is just go on the course website, like just look at the modules that you have, look at the professors who are going to be teaching you, what kind of labs the university has, because that is some of the researches that I did. And then try to relate that with the experiences that you have built throughout your bachelor's degree, just to make like connecting points that if you have studied that and if you have researched on a particular topic, how does that connect to the university, because that's what they want to see, like how your experience is relevant, and how they can help you and you can take help from them. So that's like a two-way process. So mention any professors that you would like to work with, any projects that you would like to focus on. So yeah, these are some of the uh, things that you can mention in your SOP.
All right. Akshita, what do you think? What is your take on this?
I agree with her. So the first thing is go into the website, see what are the courses that you want to opt for. You won't be applying just for one university, right? You will be applying for different university, and there would be different courses that you would want to take up. So start tailoring your SOP based on the university that you're applying for and the course subject that you're applying for. Not just that, see what were the latest research papers that were done in that particular subject, and try to see how you can, tailor your relevant experience according to the your relevant research that's actually being done. That will actually get the professors interested in whatever SOP you have written. That is one thing. And apart from that, understand what are the latest trends that are happening in that in the subject, especially computer science or data science. What are the latest things that are happening, and that should reflect in in your SOP, so that way they know that you're relevant and you're passionate about what you're what you want to pursue.
That's very interesting because that actually brings to my next question as to what are the important elements. You mentioned about research and you mentioned about the projects that the university was doing, university is or did earlier. Other than that, other than the university that they're applying to, what are the other elements like the extracurricular activities or the research that they did in their university? What are the important elements you would say one definitely has to include in their SOP?
So from my side, see, writing an SOP is like taking your showing the university the personal journey that you have had in that particular subject. It's not that suddenly you want to make the decision of doing a master's, just like how Coena said that she was always passionate about that. So some
Right.
insights into why you wanted to choose that particular subject. What is the relevant experience, professional experience, and not just professional experience? What is the extra mile that you took aside from your academics in that particular subject? And what were the different certifications or any courses which you have taken? That shows that you have actually been preparing, and it's not suddenly that you're pursuing your masters is a higher degree, right? So these are
Right.
certain elements which you need to actually highlight in your SOP.
I see. All right. Now, Koina, you told me that you completed your mechanical engineering, you found your passion, and right now you're pursuing your MS in robotics. Now, what I want to understand is how important is it to see, for example, most of the audience here are final year bachelor students or recent graduates. Now, many of them would be confused as to what they want to do in their future. What masters do they want to take up? And many of them are still exploring and figuring out, okay, let me apply to this course and let me just start from there. Keeping that in mind, how important is it to demonstrate an already existing understanding about the subject for which you're applying for masters in your SOP? Right. So sometimes, let's say you must be doing one entirely different thing in bachelor's and taking up a
Mm-hmm.
differently new specialization in masters.
Yeah.
So is it important to have the subject knowledge of the masters that you're going to take up while writing your SOP and joining the course?
Right. So when I applied to my master's degree in robotics, they wanted some knowledge in programming, like languages like Python or C++ or stuff like that. Um,
Hmm.
and I did not have it because in mechanical engineering you're not taught Python or something. So when I graduated, I took up like um, online courses where I was exposed to them, and at the same time it is very important that once you're doing those online courses, you're actually applying them to projects as well. So if you are like really trying to switch from like one subject or to a much more relevant subject, like to something you want to do that's kind of different, make sure you have done like you've gotten some experience in it, like which goes beyond like online courses, like you have applied to them through projects, personal projects, even like smaller ones that you can talk about like in your SOP, and like the efforts that you have put into, like make that change more smooth over, so that they see that you have done. And at the same time, I also was able to extract out experiences from mechanical engineering to strengthen my SOP, that yeah, I have the knowledge of both the hardware and the software. So that kind of really helped.
Right. Now, Akshita, can you tell me how can a student showcase their strengths in a way that, uh, I would say, grab the attention of the admissions committee rather than, impressing them, rather than giving a list of all of these are what I did and here is what I have. How do you put it in such a way that they're interested in reading your strengths and achievements?
So when you're showcasing your strengths, it's very important to keep it in a very balanced way. Okay. Sometimes we overdo things. It becomes, it almost becomes like we are saying so many things. First thing, you need to structure it. When you're actually jotting down your points, you will know there will be certain strengths that will showcase whatever is needed for that particular course. So note those things down. The ones which are not very relevant, you can remove that. That's very important. Then the second thing is, you should not sound very snobby about your achievements, but at the same time keep it in a very formal tone. Keep a very formal tone when you're actually discussing them. It should not be like very show-offy kind of a thing. That's one thing. And plus, one more thing that I've noticed is, UK universities are very much into things like critical thinking and research. So show these things in your, in your SOP. So those will actually showcase your strengths. That the fact that you're willing to do research, and what were the achievements that you have had, what are the extra skills that you have taken. So these are some of the ways you can actually highlight them. So that's about it. Yeah.
Awesome. So I have a follow-up question. I'll just take that question up to Coena. Keeping the points that Akshita have given us and responded very well for us, how do you think creativity plays a role in your SOP? Is there a standard format, very formal, and this is this and this is what I'm doing and this is how I want to apply? Or is there a way to show your authenticity or show your little quirkiness in your SOP?
If the admissions committee, I mean, if the course asks you for a particular SOP within certain structured way, you have to absolutely maintain that. But if nothing is mentioned, I would definitely suggest some bit of storytelling, just so that it just helps them understand you a little more personally. So if you give examples of certain situations, make sure you give like relevant examples, and then just put it in a way that you are explaining the context, what was your role in it, and then how you were able to manage the situation. At the same time, if you are able to cite examples of certain hardships that you faced, and then how you overcame them, I think these actually help you. It helps the admission committee in understanding you a little better. Like, just gives a much more a personal touch in that sense. But at the same time, don't go overboard with any skills or any things that you're talking about, so that it looks, it looks fake in a way, like they would understand that, like if that person is just going overboard or exaggerating their skills, they would understand. So I guess, like, in a way, just balance it out, I guess. Like, if you've done certain things, just write it in a more in a tone that seems very authentic to yourself and to the others reading it, so as well. Yeah.
Right. Now, Akshita, you told me you have had some work experience before you decided to pursue your master's in the UK. How important would you say is to have that insight into the industry and how the industry works before you decide your master's, and also have be more insightful towards writing your SOP?
For me, it gave. Let me put this from my perspective, because not everybody would have a work experience. But
Sure.
for me, what the work experience did was it gave me a certain amount of maturity, and it helped me to narrow down what subjects I wanted to focus on. And I could even see the practical side of things. It's not just about doing a course, right? How are you going to apply the course that you're going to do in your. And the next thing is, it helps you have a career plan. So this is what I want to do in the next 5 years. So that is how having the work experience helped me. Not just that, after doing the course, it also helped me with applying for jobs in the UK as well. And
Right.
that kind of gave me an extra edge over people who are new, because they didn't know how to present themselves, or they were not quite adept with how to answer during the interviews. So these are certain things that you get to know only when you actually have a work experience. The corporate culture, understanding the corporate culture, how the interviews are done. So these are some things which help me personally.
Absolutely. Now, my next question is for the both of you. I think, Coena, you can take this up first. Uh, did you have any external support, like friends or family or teachers or mentors, who helped you write your SOP or gave you suggestion? And how valuable is it, or is that not necessary at all?
I think that is definitely necessary. Like, you are, of course, if you write your own SOP, and you, if you ace it, that's very good. But there are some people, where you can get help from your teachers, maybe, or maybe your friends, who can just look at that SOP from like an unbiased perspective, to see how well the flow of the structure is, um, and how well you're able to communicate your ideas and your storytelling to the admission committee. So in terms of, like, me, when I was writing it, yeah, I definitely did take help from a lot of people who proofread my SOP, who were able to help me structure it, who were I actually reached out to one of the students at one of the universities that I was applying to, a PhD student, and he was kind enough to actually go over my SOP and give me his pointers, which I was able to incorporate them into my SOP to make it much more better. So just having, like, reach out to people on LinkedIn, like, maybe out of 10 people, one or two might be able to help you in crafting that SOP that you want. So yeah, just make sure you have proofread it, your friends have proofread it, so that there's like an unbiased opinion, and you can get all of the pointers and advices that you can to make it perfect, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. What is your take on this, Akshita?
So, what I did was, I had two of my friends who had done their masters. So, I sent my SOP to them. So, they actually went through the entire SOP, and they gave me their points. There were a couple of points I agreed with and I made the changes, and some which I didn't really agree with. So, try to personalize even the feedback that you are getting and which you feel is relevant, and make those changes accordingly. That's one thing. But it is quite important to have a different perspective. It is not just that, because there are many things that you miss out on when you're writing it on your own. And I think one more thing is, Nebula, if I'm right, uh, offers these where people are actually going through your the SOPs and sharing their feedback. I think there are a few experts who are doing that in your website as well. So that these are some of the ways, like how Coena mentioned, you have reach out to people on LinkedIn, get into sites like Nebula, and have someone who's experienced and who has done their masters go through your SOP.
For sure, absolutely. I agree with you completely. On that light, can you talk about the importance of not plagiarizing your SOP and also to keep it authentic to oneself?
Okay, I have had a personal experience with respect to this, especially in the University of Glasgow. They have algorithms actually running on not just your SOPs, your LORs, and even the assignments that you do. So there are algorithms running, and they can detect if you're actually getting lines from different websites. So see to it that all these lines or whatever you're writing is coming from you, and it's not like you're getting bits and pieces from other uh, websites. So you need to be authentic, and they're very strict about it, or at
Right.
least my
Uh,
university was.
what is your take on this, Koina?
Yeah, like definitely have your words on it. Like if you are quoting something, make sure you have that in quotes, but like don't plagiarize anything. Definitely don't use chat gpt for it. um just be as authentic and write your own story, I guess. Yeah.
All right. So, Koina, how would you say, let's say most Indian students have this insecurity of going to a new place, hearing a language, although it is English and all of us are well versed in English, there is this, I would say, fear of communication that comes up. So, would that reflect on the SOP? How important is your English skills or communication skills? Did you have uh, any session on how to write your SOP before you sat down? Did somebody tell you this is how it's supposed to be written, or did you just start at some point and get to the end of it?
What actually helped me in writing the SOP was reading other people's SOP first, just to like, because you'll find like millions of resources online, where you can like read sample SOPs and like read your friends who have already gone there and how their SOP worked, just so you can take an idea of the structure and the like the strengths that you can highlight in that SOP. Maybe like some leadership positions you've taken, some teamwork you have done, because these are like the extra points in addition to the relevant skills from the course that you're going to be pursuing. So all in all, I guess like this really helps tie up everything. So yeah, in terms of like pre-preparation from for writing the SOPs, like reading sample ones, maybe like take a course on how you can write it. And the English does have to be like you cannot like have errors, like grammatical errors on the SOP. That's why you need to proofread it like many times, like because that's like a deal breaker, I guess, like that I feel like it might put you at a disadvantage. But yeah, like in terms of communication, like as long as your English is good enough, like you are able to express your ideas well and clearly and communicate them, I think it works out.
Awesome. Uh, I'm just carrying on that question to Akshita, and I'm just adding a little bit more. One, how important is proofreading? Obviously, you can just add on to the points that Koina said. And the second one is, how can you form a well structured SOP? Because when you sit down and when you get a certain set of instructions from a university, this has to be included in your SOP. It is only natural to feel overwhelmed and be a little all over the place. So, Akshita, what do you think is a way to make sure your SOP is well structured and also fully proofread before they send it across?
So the first thing is I would jot down the points. First thing, break it into paragraphs, different paragraphs. What would go into each of those paragraphs? What are the things that you would want in each of them? For one more thing is don't jump around your points. Let it like it should be. There should be a certain flow between one thing to another. So it would start with introducing yourself, following with what is the what kind of academic achievements or uh, something related to your academics, especially with respect to your subject, followed by what relevant work experience you have. Then these are two very important things. Okay, one is why did you choose that particular university and why that subject. These are two things that really makes you stand out when it comes to writing your SOP. That's one thing. And while doing so, we also need to be mindful of the fact not to overuse the thesaurus. Like you said, for your previous question, we do have our insecurities when it comes to writing certain things, but it shouldn't be like you have just used all kinds of jargon in between. You need to maintain a fine balance, and yet it should be a formal structure. If you overdo that, they're very good at finding out that this is fake, like you're overdoing
Hmm.
it, and you're so be careful about that. Be as authentic as possible and don't overuse uh, you know uh, language terms that you're not really familiar with. Yeah.
All right. Can you also shine a little light on the proofreading part, and how did you proofread it and how important is it?
So you will have to actually, read it multiple times, and when you're doing that, you will see that you will restructure a few things a couple of different ways, and then finally you will have two more people actually read through it, and there will be a point when you will know that you're done with this particular thing. And plus, stick to all the things which the university has told you. Like, for instance, I had a word limit. I stuck to it. And so these are certain things that you have to be mindful of. And also you use tools like Grammarly or something that would see to it that your grammar is in place. And these are some of the ways that you can actually see that you've not made any grammatical errors. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Koina, now I understand that your decision to pursue your course in your said university was a well thought out, well researched decision. Now, my question is, while a student is applying to universities, there are situations where they apply to a lot of universities, keep their options open. How would you say one SOP should differ from university to university while they are writing their SOP?
Definitely. Like when I was applying to like different courses in different universities, I make sure that my SOP is tailored to that particular university. So I would
Mhm.
mention their particular professors, about their labs, and about the research that's being done in that lab. I mean, certain points like that could be common in all your SOPs if that's giving a background of it. But if your background is changing according to the course, make sure you're able to take out the relevant points and then are able to connect that with the course that you're applying to, through professors, through university projects, any labs, and mention any little thing about the university that people would realize that you have done like in-depth research into the university, so that they know, so that it reflects on your SOP that you have done your homework. So yeah, in a way that certain points about your background can be common for all your SOPs, but make sure like to take the relevant points out of it and then put forward that according to the course and the university that you're applying to.
Absolutely. Akshita, what would you say is a way to write a strong conclusion? Now you have written about your strengths, you've written about your academic achievements. It's time to conclude, and we as Indians, as talkative as we are, it's very difficult for us to put an end to our conversations or our explanations. How would you say it is a best way to go and conclude your SOP?
So I talked about how the university is relevant for my, for me to achieve my career goals. That was the way I ended it. So as to what my plans are and why the university will help me achieve the goals that I am looking for, and how it will help me gain the technical skills that I require. That's how I ended it from my side. That. And how important that doing that course would actually set me to the right path. That's the way I actually concluded my SOP. I'm not sure if there are other ways of doing it, but generally it would be with why that university, and most importantly, where do you see see yourself once you have done your masters, how it will help you in the future. That's how. Yeah.
Absolutely. What about you, Cohen? Is there a foolproof way to conclude? I would rather ask.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Akshata. That's exactly what I did. Like I ended it with just mentioning that how the university course is relevant to my career and what I plan to do as like a 5-year plan. Um, just so that they can have an insight about me, and in the just in the last word, so that it more like summarizes your entire SOP and ties it all together, so yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Awesome. So that brings us to the last question I have for today before we move on to the audience questions. My last question for you, Akshita, is how can one applicant make their SOP stand out from hundreds of millions of SOPs that a university come through?
That's kind of a tough question because I didn't really pay too much attention to that. And I'll tell you why, because it adds an extra pressure as to how can I differentiate myself. I wouldn't suggest someone to go too much into that route. Rather stick, my approach would be like rather stick to what experience you have, what is the research that you have done, and do the best you can when it comes to writing these things down. And one more thing is, when they are looking at so many SOPs, okay, it's important for you to be succinct and clear. There should be a certain clarity when you're writing, because they're not going to read stories, so be to the point and use good language and bring out your strengths and not weaknesses, bring out your strengths. Yeah, those are the things that would actually stand out, and what is the experience that you have. So these are certain things, but I wouldn't bash my head about like how can I, there are thousands of SOPs. If you have that going on in your head, that will start reflecting on your SOP as well.
Right. Absolutely. I agree with you. Coena, my last question for you is as we spoke about a little earlier, there might be other universities that a student, multiple universities that a student has shortlisted, and
Yeah.
multiple changes and multiple SOPs that they send to these said universities. And it's only natural to get negative responses or responses that they're not happy with from the universities. What is some tips that you have to stay motivated, work on their SOP, make it better until they get the admission from the university that they dream of?
I mean, yeah, like when you get like a rejection from a university, it does feel bad, but just try to take that as a learning opportunity. Just go over your SOP, try to understand how you could have written it better, and then and then try to like formulate it according to the other universities that you will be applying. So if even if some university didn't work out, maybe it's for the good, maybe there's a better university out there for you. So definitely like keep trying, um and like just keep all of the points that we mentioned, just keep showing that on your SOP, and just do as much as research as you can into an university, just so that that reflects on your SOP as well. So yeah, just take it in stride and use it as a learning opportunity. That's what I would suggest.
Awesome. All right, now let's move on to our audience chat. I can see we have a few questions here. The first one is from Sumit. Is there a difference between a statement of purpose and a letter of motivation? I think, Koina, you can start with your take on this question.
In my experience, uh, uh, I haven't noticed a difference really. A statement of purpose more like reflects your focuses. I think is balance between what you want to do and where you come from, like your background and your experiences and stuff. At the same time, I feel like letter of motivation, I think it might focus more on terms of your goals and what you want to do with that degree, and like your future plans and how you if you are interested in a certain project, your ideas about that project and where you want to take it ahead, with the professor or something.
All right. Now, Akshita, I want to ask you a little tweak in the question from my end. Uh, is is there a difference between SOP and letter of motivation in such a way that one is less formal than the other?
I think the state of SOP would be a little bit more formal when compared to motivation letters. That's my understanding of things. But wherever I had applied for my master's, it was always SOPs that were asked for. A motivation letter is not something that I've really come across. But SOPs generally tend to be a little bit more formal in nature.
I see. All right. We have our next question from Johan. How long should an ideal SOP be? The character limit of an SOP. Akshita, what would you say?
I think my SOP was around 1.5 pages, not more than that. Maybe 1,000 characters, if I'm right.
I
Am
see.
I wrong? I
Okay.
mean, I'm not sure about that. When I did have a character limit, I think it was 1,000. And my SOP, if I remember, was not more than 1.5 pages. Yeah, it shouldn't go
Okay.
beyond 2 pages at least.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
I see. Did you have a character limit for your SOP, and can you tell us a little bit about that, Coena?
I did, but it's always like mentioned by the university if they are looking for certain things, like if they're asking you to maintain within 1,000 words,
Mm-hmm.
you have to do that. Like, don't go beyond that, because then that's they don't take it in a good way then. And then it's usually mentioned, like if they want like a 2 page SOP or a 1.5 page, it's usually mentioned. But if it's not mentioned, yeah, like just don't go beyond 2 pages. One to 1.5 is like good enough.
All right. Okay. We have another question from Johan. What are some common mistakes I should avoid when writing my SOP? Koina, you might want to take that question.
Yeah, definitely. Do not generalize it. Like, don't write a very general SOP. Make sure you add your personal touch to it. Show that you have done research into the university. Mention those points, that certain facts about the university that you might be interested in, certain teams, certain activities that they do, might maybe placement activities, or maybe like a job summit or something like that. Just over go over their previous things that they have done, and try to put that, like, don't in the end, don't make a general SOP. Try to
Mhm.
proofread it as much as you can, just so that there are no grammatical errors, and that your ideas are being able to communicate very well. Don't use a lot of technical jargon as well. Just make it as smooth and as simplified as possible.
All right. Now, Akshita, I want to know your thoughts on the same question, but also this is just a question I have in general, probably not closely related to SOPs. When we're selecting universities, there are certain sets of prerequisites that we have that we want in the university that we're choosing. How would you say is the best way to, and I truly believe that if you are applying to a university that you like, where your research types are there and your projects that you like are displayed in that university, that would help your SOP come together more than ever. So what I'm trying to ask is, how important is selecting a university related to writing your SOP?
Yeah, so you need to, like I said, you need to see the kind of research that they're doing. Okay, these are certain things, and what are the latest uh, things that are happening in that particular university. These are some of the things, and you might even want to see the ranking of the university, because these are things that actually helps you in the longer run. Because a well-placed university has the necessary infrastructure when it comes to even when it comes to providing you with a lot of, especially things related to your labs. They have the necessary, infrastructure, and even the support that is needed for the student. So a well placed university will provide you those things, and that's one thing. And second thing is writing those relevant things, mentioning those relevant things in your SOP. What is it that you're looking for, and stating as to why that particular university will help you actually, with whatever that you're looking for. Yeah.
Right. We have a question from Vasvi. I think, actually, you can take this up as well. How can I effectively showcase my academic background and achievements in my SOP?
So you can actually start with what was it that interested you in that particular subject, and you can mention that, but it shouldn't go beyond like a paragraph or so because you need some space for other things as well. So you can mention the achievements that you have had, but they should be relevant to whatever your to the subject or the courses that you're taking up. If you want to mention extracurricular activities, great, but it shouldn't go beyond a line or two. You won't have that much space to actually mention all your achievements. So mention the ones which are relevant to your course. That is something that you can do. Yeah, if you have won any awards or any accolades in the academic space relevant to that subject, you can highlight those things as well.
Absolutely. I also see that the talk is gaining popularity. People are asking if Vasvi asks, in fact, if you will be available for a one-on-one session to the both of you. We have our next question, though, from Sanvi. How important is the structure and formatting of an SOP? Coena, what would you say to this question?
Yeah, so the general format that I mentioned that in my SOPs was like giving an introduction um, about myself and what am I studying and what I studied, followed up by like a main body where I talked about my internships or my certain projects I've done, and then tying that with the university in all respects of wherever I could, and then at the end, the conclusion as we talked about with like how this university could help me achieve the dreams that I have and where I see myself in 5 years. So this is the kind of structure that I followed during my SO.
All right. You can also take up the next question, which is from Hannah. How can I research and tailor my SOP to specific programs and universities?
So your research definitely comes from the university lab pages, the certain professors who are working in that lab, whichever areas that you're interested in. Just and then trying to mention their work, maybe mention a few research papers that you have read about them. Um,
Mhm.
and just showing your interest in it, like some ideas that you might have regarding it, and
Mhm.
just trying like uh, different ideas about how you could contribute to their research, um, like towards the conclusion, I think, and then relevantly tying that up with the experience that you had. So yeah, this is the research that you could do.
All right. Now, Akshita, we have a question from Johan. Should I show an existing knowledge of the course I'm choosing in my SOP, or should it be more about me and my personal achievements?
So it would be good if you mention, some experience which you have. It will actually add to your SOP. It will give you some brownie points because you're saying that you have already started working towards it, and that the masters will actually help you take it to the next level. So I would suggest, adding these points, but don't overdo it because you are going there to learn something new. So do mention some of the and say that you are willing to learn and explore more in this particular area. Put it in that way rather than not mention it. It's not just your personal story that they're looking for. They want to see, what are the steps that you've already taken in that space as well.
Absolutely. Now, we spoke about plagiarism earlier. So, Koina, what would you say is the answer to this question by Vasvi, which is if I look at example of an SOP, how do I make sure that it's error-free of plagiarism? I think it's error-free or plagiarism.
Yeah, like there are different softwares online where you can run your SOP through to check the plagiarism level. um, I feel like there's a number of websites that you can go to, Grammarly being one of them. I'm not sure, but yeah, like if you if the words that are coming from you, like if they're authentic, I'm sure there's like a very low percentage of plagiarism. But yeah, like just proofread it and see that do not copy stuff from others' SOPs for definitely, because they'll know otherwise. So yeah, just check it online, and yeah.
All right. We have gotten a new question, and I think that's the last question that we have here. What websites did you check out for plagiarism check? I think you just mentioned that,
Yeah.
Grammarly and other such sites, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's the last question we have for today. This has been wonderful. You guys have been so great answering all of the questions so patiently. So thank you so much for joining us today. I think I can confidently say that uh, all of our audience, including myself, have gotten a lot of insight about how to go about writing an SOP and what are the do's and don'ts and what are the things to keep in mind and stay away from while writing an SOP. So I would like to thank you guys.
Um,
Thank you so much, Namita. Thanks for having us here. It was. I'm happy that we were able to, contribute towards other people, and their efforts that they're actually putting into writing their SOP. Yeah.
Yeah, like thank you, Namita, so much for the invitation from you and Kavya. She was very helpful in terms of giving me all the information that was needed to join the session. And I feel that even if I've somehow contributed to anybody for any help that they needed for writing their SOP, then that's great. Like it was a very nice session from, yeah.
Amazing. It's our pleasure to have you guys. To all the audience who's wondering who Kavya is, she's our in-house rock star. Just putting it out there, she has done a lot of effort to bring in such amazing people in for our 2 day summit. So thank you guys so much. All right, everyone. So that brings us to the end of this panel discussion. We have a lot more interesting and exciting Nebula talks and panel discussions coming up, right from perfecting your LOR. Right before that, we have a question from Daksh. How important is it to mention the faculty members or research groups that I'm interested in working with? What would you say about this, Akshita?
That would give an insight into the fact that you've understood what the university is doing. So that would add something extra to the SOP. So you can mention the research groups or some professors or certain labs or research papers that you would be interested in working on. So you can do that.
Awesome. I hope that that answer helped, Daksh. All right, coming right back to us concluding this session. Stay put for further talks like perfecting your LOR, what not to do during your student visa interview, and choosing the right accommodation on campus, off campus, private rentals, and homestays. So stay put for all of that and get the full 360-degree information you need to start your study abroad journey to the UK. All right, guys, thank you so much. This has been great. You guys have a good day.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Bye
so much.
bye.
All the best
All
to
the best,
everyone. Yeah.
everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.